Hey everyone, so today I'm doing this scary zombie look for Halloween, which I actually really like and I really enjoyed doing this, so I hope you like it too. So I'm starting with my usual foundation, which is the Estee Lauder Double Wear, and I just put that on kind of to put a barrier between my skin and the face paint because I didn't want it to make me break out. So here I am putting the face paint on, and it's from Wilkinsons and it was £1, and it's not completely opaque, so if you want that then I would suggest something else, but I quite liked that it wasn't really opaque because it kind of looked more grey, which I suppose is better when you're trying to look kind of dead. It looks a lot more white on camera, but as you will see in a minute I actually did 2 layers because it wasn't really showing up, but I quite like the way it turned out because it looked more like grey dead skin than completely white. So now I'm just setting the first layer of face paint before I do the second one with Rimmel Stay Matte Powder in Translucent, and what actually happened was the brush kind of got covered in face paint and just like stuck to the brush, so make sure you're using a brush that you don't mind getting dirty. Here I just used my e.l.f. setting spray to obviously set it in place, which I felt like it took ages to dry, but I think that might have been the face paint, and this here shows the colour a lot better. As you can see, it is kind of grey and not completely opaque. Now I'm just putting some eyeshadows on my lips in kind of white and icy blue colours to make them look all dead, and then I move on to creating a bit of bruising around my lip. So I'm just using like dark purples and reds and browns, just bruisey kind of colours, and I'll put below all of the eyeshadows I'm using because there's a few from different palettes and stuff, and it'd be annoying if I kept telling you them because I keep going in and out through the whole tutorial with different ones. But you can use any kind of colours that are dark purpley, browny, reddy kind of shades, that obviously the shades of like a bruise. And I also use a little bit of yellow because, as you probably know if you've had a bruise, it can go a bit yellow as well. So I'm just making this area like bigger and bigger, and it actually ends up quite big. So I'm just using my finger and like patting it everywhere. Obviously it doesn't need to be too even or blended out too well because it is a bruise. I then started using a brush. I'm not really sure why, but I don't know, I preferred using the brush. You can use your fingers if you want because, as I said, it doesn't need to be really even. So this is kind of what a lot of the tutorial is just creating this bruising on different areas of my face, which is kind of easy. You can obviously put them wherever you want and just build up loads of bruise type colours. So it's fairly easy if you just put them in the right areas. Obviously you want to do your eyes, and then anywhere else is kind of up to you. And as you saw a second ago, I went back in with that brush that had a bit of face paint on it, which I do a couple times in the tutorial, just to kind of not blend it out because it doesn't have to be too blended, but if there was an area I didn't want so dark, and I don't know, I just keep going back in and out with different things to make it look how I want. Now I'm doing a bit of contouring to make myself look all gaunt, and I didn't have a matte grey eyeshadow, they all seemed to be shimmery, so I used black, and I tried to use a little bit, but it actually still came out quite black on this cheek that I'm doing right now. But I just blended it out and then went back in with that white face paint brush and just kept blending, and I think I put a bit of brown in there as well, just to try and look all gaunt and dead. Here I'm just basically doing the same thing I did on the other cheek, obviously just in a different area, just using those same kind of colours, purples, browns, dark reds, to create another bruise on a different area of my face. I decided to contour my nose a bit, so I used that same black eyeshadow, just a lot lighter, and then blended it out with this brush. And then I also ended up going in with like browns, and then also like reds and purples, the same as the rest of my face, kind of around my nose, just to give a bit more bruising effect. Here I'm just using a light brown shade all over my lid, but it's quite a yellowy brown, which I wanted because, as I said, bruising can go yellow as well, and I find it does that especially around the eyes. So I used a yellow tinted brown, if that's what you want to call it, just all over the lids. I then used that black eyeshadow again, just in the contours of my eyes, to make them look all gaunt as well. I then went over it with some brown shades as well, and then I used quite a reddy tinted brown, like right up to my brow bone. Then I'm bringing them colours under my eye and all around the eye basically. You don't want it to look like a nice smoky eye, so bring it out at the sides and also put it on the inner corners where you normally highlight. You don't want it highlighted, you want it dark, so bring it right round in there. Then I used a tiny bit of that black eyeshadow that I used earlier on my upper lash line. Really tiny bit, I just wanted to add a bit of darkness to my eyes. And then on my lower lash line I used a yellow eyeshadow because I think yellow, especially on the eyes, looks good. Like when your bruise starts to get old, it gets yellow in it, and I just think it looks particularly good on the eyes, so that's where I put it. I'm using my Maybelline brow pencil to put some colour in my eyebrows, but a really tiny bit, and I'm not doing any kind of shape. I'm literally just throwing in a tiny bit of colour and then brushing them out because they went all over the place. And I just decided to go back in those inner corners with some darker colours again because I didn't think my eyes looked dead enough, and I do think it looked a lot better after I went back in with these darker colours. And again, just back in, as you can see, I keep going back in kind of everywhere with darker colours. I just kept darkening it up, and that's what you can do. Just literally do whatever you want. If you use the right kind of colours and put it in a few places but not all over your face, that's all you've got to do basically, and you've got the look. And I'm just doing kind of a bit of contouring just to look a bit more gaunt, and I didn't really have any colour on my forehead, so we're not trying to look pretty. That's not what we're contouring for. We're just using, again, those like purpley browny colours around the forehead to give some colour and look a bit more dead. And I seem to have lost a clip, but somewhere in Galaxy is a clip of me building up the colour, which is where I put a cut on my forehead, so I just put a lot more colour in that area. I don't know where that clip went, but you will see the rest of that soon. So this is where I built up the colour for the bruise, which is the clip that I lost. So now I'm just putting a bit of fake blood on top, and I'm kind of blending it in a bit. This is just to add a bit of colour, and then I go back in with more blood to actually make it look bloody, if that makes sense. So I just keep going back in with more, and in the end, as you will see, that's when I actually created like the drips. Now I'm just putting some fake blood around my mouth as well, because I'm a zombie. I've been eating people and things. And be careful on this step, because I got fake blood in my mouth and it did not taste good. I look really weird here because I shook my head to try and make the blood drip and it didn't work, so just use the tube. So once you've done the blood, that is the whole look finished. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed doing this, so I hope you like it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.